to welcome Adebanji to Chelmsford, the boss.
Hello.
It's really, really nice. It's nice to see you all here and you at home. I hope you enjoyed the one. I really enjoyed the evening. Anybody got any questions, you have to get into it because he talks a lot. So, you're going to do urban scene.
Yeah, it's an urban scene in acrylic, a London scene. Yeah.
Right, okay. So I'm going to hand you over to Adebanji and get on with it. Okay, bye.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. When does this end? Just need to know off the top of my brain. When do we finish?
When we finish the picture.
Are you sure? Because I could go on forever.
Well, 9:30ish.
9:30ish. Okay, so someone tell me, I'll try and check my time. I'll also set the alarm when it's 9 o'clock, just so I know I'm in order. So, thank you all for coming. I've been talking to Christine for a very long time, back and forth on email, and it's nice to come to Chelmsford. I don't know, something tells me I've been around this area before, maybe to a school to do a workshop or something, but I really can't remember, so being here just brought back some memories, but I can't say what it was. But I'm happy everyone's here tonight, and if you're watching online, good on you. Everyone, this is what I love to do. I love to paint plein air, which is just going out and taking my little Porsche box and painting right there and then, and capturing a scene, you know, like this. And there's a reason I've chosen a scene like this, because it works well tonally. You'll notice that when you look at this picture, it looks a bit complicated, but it's not, because when you squint, there's a shadow pattern. And this is the secret to painting. I say to everyone, it's not about just painting anything. It's about looking for a nice abstract design, a shadow pattern, a value pattern. And what I mean by that is there would be a link of shadow or shade and a link of light. And as far as maybe the light is more than the dark, or the dark is more than the light, you have a good picture. What you don't want is for both of them to be equal. In this picture, you notice that the shadows and the darks are more than the lights, which causes an imbalance, but that's what makes pictures interesting, because then you're able to focus. So there is no way you're going to look at this picture and you're not going to focus in this area around where these figures are, because that's where the light falls, and it comes like the light's coming like that, so it hits the ground at some sort, like it's coming in this direction. So I could go on and on about that, but that's kind of why I chose this picture. So it has nothing really to do with the location. I'm not really interested in, oh, it has to be Chelmsford or somewhere in Kent or whatever. As far as I can get a nice interaction of light and shade, and there is no clash, which means for those people who are into design, they would know this better, that a simple motif has to have an interesting design. A simple abstract design. Some people call it the no-tan design, where you have a nice play of darks and lights, but it looks interesting and they don't clash. So I'll be using acrylic. I'll be sketching with Winsor & Newton brush markers. I've joined them together so it looks like a brush. I'm only doing this to save time because of demo, so it's like a brush marker, so it will work like a brush. So you see me doing things like this, like that, so it's just like a nice little round sable brush, but in the form of a marker, so I don't need to keep dipping and going in and out of it. That's one. The colors I'm using normally is what is always on my palette. I've got a warm yellow, cool yellow, that's lemon, cadmium, titanium, yellow ochre, yellow cadmium, yellow deep, cadmium red, or a light red. It could be bright red or any kind of light red, or cool red, which is alizarin. This would normally be Terra Rosa if I was using oil. I couldn't find Terra Rosa in acrylic, so I got a red oxide. It's just so I can get a different sort of brown than that one. So it's almost like two yellows, I've got 2 browns, 2 reds, sort of 2 blues, viridian green, that's cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna. I will be working on the sketch first to try and get the drawing. Once I get the drawing done, because I'm really crocked on getting the drawing correct, once I pass that stage, I'm going to do a tonal wash. The tonal wash, I'm going to put some of this fluid. It's called a flow aid. So instead of using water to do the wash, I'm going to just use this fluid thing. It's just like a flow aid. Some people call it a flow enhancer. Whatever it is, it's just to, so I'm not using too much water. Because I want the finished work to have a feel of immediacy, almost like an oil. I don't want it to be a little bit wishy-washy, but it might be washy in the shadow areas, but in the light areas, I'm really going to pile it on. That said, it's also good to know that whatever I'm doing today is based on my addiction. So I call myself the Addictive Sketcher. So you probably get me sketching crazy, like every single day, on the bus, on the tube, on the train. This was before COVID though. Now I'm going to go to COVID. You're going to see people starting to wear all these kind of stuffs on the train, which is like today. We've got people like that. So I'm always sketching, and I encourage everyone, just make sure you develop a sketch habit. And once you can conquer sketching, and once you get into the rhythm of sketching, you can do anything in the arts, because everything starts with a sketch. And so, hence I talk about my book, which you can order online, maybe from Amazon, which is cheaper, or if you want a signed copy, you can go to my Instagram page, or my Instagram page, and get a signed copy. This is the Addictive Sketcher. It talks about all the kind of techniques I do with sketching, and this one is not yet out. This is a whole sketchbook of mine. So if you want to see a whole sketchbook of mine, everything, Search Press have produced the whole sketchbook for anyone to be encouraged, especially if you love faces, figures, sometimes trees, locations. This is 276 pages, a whole sketchbook. It's going to be out. This one is 15 quid, this one is 20 quid, anyone can get them. This one will be out in October, this one is already out. What else do I need to say? Yes, I love to chat, so they got me onto BBC. I do art documentaries on the One Show. I'm the Vice President of the Royal Institute of Oil Painters. I'm a member of the Chelmsford Art Society and the Guild of Fine Art Nigeria. I also love to do motivational speaking and go to schools to encourage youngsters to really get into art. I hope I've killed everything that needs to be said. Now let's get into this, the real deal. Is that okay? Yeah. Let's do it. Okay. So I will talk all the way through. If you have any questions, please just ask. No question is funny, no question is irrelevant. Everything is to help you or me understand what I'm doing, or make you understand what I'm doing better. It's just so, if you don't understand why I'm doing something, please just ask, and I would definitely stop all the chatter and answer every question. I think that's it, yeah. So please, and then the other thing is, if I'm talking too much, just pray something makes me stop, because that's the one thing that don't stop throughout, is the talking. It's crazy, but you know, some of us came talking, you know, from birth. I didn't talk about my brushes. So I'm using a lot of rosemary and their filberts. I love rosemary's filberts. Then I have a host of old brushes from Winsor & Newton. They're filberts too, but these ones are the Bristol Hogs. The ones from rosemary are mostly synthetic ones. Okay, so I've got that. Oops, I'm putting that into water. Yeah, let's just change the water, make sure water's in the right place. And then I have, so these are the synthetic cogs, synthetic filberts, Bristol filberts. I've got these flat ones, or just assorted flats of different brands. And then these ones that you probably see in, what's it called, in a DIY shop. Everything will be useful in one way or the other, or I'll just abandon them and not use them, and they get jealous when I don't use them. So, what else? I think let's get going. So, you would notice that on my canvas, or on my surface, I have toned the MDF board with a color that is opposite to what you normally get in a landscape. Like, it's opposite to green. It's kind of like skin tonish reddish. It's so that there can be some sort of underpainting which it's not part of the family of the major things. Like a blue will stand out on orangey, sort of a green will stand out on it. So I have this warm base. I love a warm base than a cool base. It's all personal preference, no reason. So I've mixed ochre and a bit of red with white and a bit of raw umber to just get this kind of buff color. This is what it's called. I think the old masters used a lot of buff, and they would use black chalk and white chalk, heighten it with white chalk, and it really looked good, because if it was portraiture and it was Caucasian skin, it would work so well. You can just put some tones on it and it would just come together. You would notice that I've got these crazy lines going across. I've done the same lines here and done the same lines here. And what I've done is, first of all, I made sure, because this is a 16 by 20 board, I made sure that the proportion of the picture I was using is also in the ratio of 16 by 20, which is in the ratio of 4 to 5. And so it's kind of like, it's relatable. Also, why I did it this way, because some people, they just do squares, but I like diagonals, just because I was taught this when doing relief sculpture in college, way back in Nigeria. When we were to do a relief sculpture, let's say I was going to do a relief sculpture of this on a flat surface, this is how I would put the clay in the right places, and it really kind of worked. No special reason, just that it was the way I was trained. So I go first from one diagonal to the other, then another diagonal to the other. That gives me a kind of crisscross, and then I go verticals, one tip to the other, and one side from the middle to the other. Then I will be left with 4 kind of surfaces, and in between them, each one, I make sure I cross the diagonal that way, and make sure I rule a line across. I do the same thing here, that way, and then rule a line across, which gives me what I call 4 sections. And each time I look at the 4 sections here, I can immediately know where I am and what I'm doing, and it makes the drawing easier. And you're going to see, because once I say, oh, I'm going to start from here, I'm going to rule a line there, I know I'm going to rule that same line here, and it makes it easy. So that's all about the methods and materials and what I'm using and why I'm using what. Now I'm going to start sketching. And just like I told you, I'm going to start from the tree. I love trees. And the first bit of tree I'm going to capture is the one on this side. So I'm just going to be sketching. Let's use a brown, a warm brown. So just going to be sketching just in a free way, just to get a lot of the information on. So there's a kind of a hole there. You can see that, and then the tree comes in around here. This is the lovely part, because I love sketching and I encourage everyone to get into this. All this kind of sketching stuff. So I'm around here. This is a kind of bit dark, so I'm gonna just fill up this place. And this is a bit dark, so I'm just gonna wash, just kind of like shade that in. The next place I'm gonna get is this shady area around the middle area. So you've got some tree here, and then there's this shade, just a bit of a shady area all around here. Now I'm going to capture this lovely shape around here. It is just a tree shape, so there's a bit of it that goes in, a bit of it comes out, just all over, and just that lovely bit of a tree there. See that? And then this doesn't need to, nothing in the land, this is because it's not portraiture, nothing needs to be perfect, but at least they need to be in the right place, sort of. Where I need to be careful is to make sure I get the tree trunks in the right position. So I've got this one here, this is very good, and I've got the other one which is kind of like here. And I know that it's, these two really need to key in right where they are. So I can continue this tree, just, I know there's kind of like a bend over here, and all this is shade, shade, shade. And then I get into this place, and then there's a lovely bit of it's almost like a pregnant lady, just the belly out there, and then there's just a little tree, just see things. Just see little things around and about. So in a way, that just captures the tree, you know, and I'm able to capture that quickly because of the grid lines that have helped me. Now let's go to building. The orange building, it has a straight line. I never like to use a ruler, but you know, I can pull a line several times just to make sure I get it right. One of them will be right, and I'm not going to stress myself. There's a major angle to the building, and it's this like a shaft that goes down. That's all I'm going to engage in because I want to simplify everything. I don't want to get bogged down with detail. So I know that from the top here, there is this line that goes straight down, like it almost makes a triangle with this, and it goes straight down, and then it stops around there, and then it goes back up, and then it's almost as thick as a slab which comes up here, and that goes down. And then they're just these lines. I don't want to see them as anything interesting because I'm then going to be too careful to get it accurately. And those are not the reasons why I'm doing this painting. It's to capture the mood in the middle and the effect of light. So all these are just sobs. They're a soft block. They're not the kind of thing that I'm going to waste my time doing. I'm not like an architect. I'm not going to make sure that everything is correct. Unless it was a commission and someone lived there and they said, I just want you to put my window in. That sort of thing. But, you know, if that's not the case, then no need to worry. So, just going to get this signboard. But you can see the signboard right there. There's a square. Just a squarish shape. And then you look at this whole signboard here. It says gold something coin exchange. I see that as one whole shape. So it goes from around here, just almost parallel with this line, bang, and then it's down. It moves just a little bit, and then all around here, you just see that line go straight across. And so it has a yellow bit there, and then this gold thing, you don't really need to write. I'm not a sign writer, but just put something in, but later on we'll fill it up, and coin, exchange, whatever is written there, that's irrelevant because all that is in the shade. Now we're going to bring this down to under 3. Under 3, we know that's where the road kind of goes right from the tip. So I'm going to start right from somewhere here. Just going to go back to this yellow signboard. It's a lovely shape. All these are going to see them as shapes. Very nice shapes. And right from there you see it like a black slab just underneath here. And then under there, that's where the road really starts from an angle. So it angles all the way down like this. Ding, just goes all the way until it gets somewhere here. This is what gives birth to every other thing that is on the road that you want to go into the shops or whatever. So I'm going to move this one down. This is just around here, and it would stop just around here. So I've got another one, just make sure that, you know, again I said I'm not going to use a ruler, I don't want to get bogged down. If I miss the line, I'll go into another one. The major thing I like here is this shape where there's a bit of light that goes into that area. So that I want to be focused on and get that shadow. So there's a nice little triangular shadow here, and then you have that little bit of the shop right there, and in here, bing, you just capture just tiny bits of light there. The rest of this place, there is a big shape under here. These are the reasons why I chose this, is because it's all about shapes. And this is like a rectangular shape. It's just under this one. And let's see, it just creates, there's a space, and it goes down. When you look at it in relation to this yellow one, there's a space in between, and it goes down. And then I think it will be somewhere around here, and that's just, I'm just going to fill that up. That will fill that up. So those are those two signboards right there. Underneath, just after this interesting light place, we've got a pillar. It's kind of like a conical pillar, and then another one which is kind of like thinner, and then there's a dark shape, just a dark shape there, and then just before the thing, just before the line here, there's another dark shape there, and then this is where you probably go into that building there, just block that off. So all of this, and then finally this is just like a closed shop. And so I'm just gonna, it's gonna be dark when I do the wash. It's gonna be dark. All this will be dark just to fill up that whole space. So that, all this area, I've been able to get the building underneath. That, there's a bit of light. That anywhere there's light, I really wanna, because the light, the interplay of light is what makes the whole thing interesting. Now I'm going to move over to this side of the painting, because most of this is just shadow, but it helps to frame the interesting part, the center of interest. So I'm going to frame where that center of interest goes. So all this is shadow. I'm going to change the marker and just kind of like link up some grays to capture all that shadow in here. So all this is shadow. It's little sketchy shadow. Well, I was wondering where the red came from. Give some colour. So I'm going to have to ban this one for now because it's going to start playing red games. We don't want to do any red games at the moment, so I'm going to come into another one of my short ones. Yeah, so just fill up this, all this area. This is the movement of the street, just the movement. That's going to cause problems, so just clean that up. We don't want you on yet, no colour yet, just sketching. Right, so all this, we're just going to flow until we get to the foam boxes, the old-fashioned foam boxes. I like the fact that they haven't actually knocked them down or removed them, even though people don't really use them, but they're iconic. There's what makes London London. So, you know, a lot of people would buy a painting just because it has this in it, you know, because they just want something unique about London, and this sort of thing is really, really unique. What I like about it is that the whole thing is not red. There's a little bit of light, and you'd see when I start painting how that would come to play and help the whole thing. Now, in the background, in the negative shape between the tree and all that, you've got these buildings. I'm just going to see those as shapes, all the shapes in between. The one thing I like is the branch. There's a branch here. I like that. So I'm going to darken these branches, these trunks, and just get some of the cars in, just because this triangle here is so interesting. Just a triangle, and what I'm talking about is this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So interesting, and that is the 1, 2, 3 I've got here. So inside it, I'm just going to sketch kind of like what I see. There's a kind of like a van there, and then around the area there is a post box, but it hardly shows that much. And there's these other dark shapes, and then we have a lovely figure. I'm going to use a different color for that figure just so it kind of like stands out. So the lady, her head is, I would say, somewhere there. Just all their heads are on the same level, so I'm just going to do the line so I know where their heads are. So she, I would say, a head, a bit of a hand, backpack, the feet, how it goes, and there, and then just a shadow. The shadow is so important. I'm just going to fly that across. And we've got another hand just in there, and then her hair, just lovely hair, and then the shadow, and her bag just sits there, and then the way her hand just flips, the dark bit of the shadow cast under it. This lovely figure right there, beautiful figure, and then I'm going to put the shadows in, And then we bring in this figure, the lady. So again, I start with the head on the same level. Top, just knock that in. She has something that, and then the legs, never draw the feet, just legs that are showing motion. And I think this is too small because she is actually in, so I'm going to make her a little bit bigger. Hands around here, and then just feet, just the feet. And then it's a more silhouette, so I'm just going to really darken that a bit, darken that, and just leave that there because they're in the shadow. And then there's another figure. She's just right on the edge. Look at her head actually is as a tangent to this angle. So you just got that. I don't want her head to be too large. Whenever you're doing figures in a landscape, make sure the heads are small. So I'm going to reduce that head to that size. Her top, let's put it, and then most of all, most interesting is the movement of the leg, and just to show that motion, I think that they're moving, and there's a hand in there, and there's another kind of hand, just kind of like, just trying to get some interest in it. But this is the dark leg, and one is the light leg, and this is called shadow. That shadow continues in there, and there's another guy at the back. He frames the back of it and comes in around here. Just put him at the back. We know his feet come down and the shadow continues. And there's some other figures that we're just going to put those ones as dots because they don't really show that much. And we're going to leave those ones, okay? Now we're going to continue that shadow. Just use the foam, make the foam box a little bit more distinct. There's about 2 of them in there, so I'm just going to make it a little bit more distinct by using this reddish color. And I think we're ready to go with some tones. Let's just make some, I call these movement strokes, like the way the road moves from the distance. I'm just going to roll that in from far. So these marks I'm making is how they move out into the distance and come down perspective-wise. Just make sure I get that movement. And in the background there, we've got the shadow, and then all that is shadow, and that shadow comes in here. This is dark, and I think, so all of a sudden, this is kind of like the first stage completed, which is the sketch. I'd like to take a picture of this. You know, sometimes I share these things, and also it helps me to always know the method I'm taking at each point. So this is sketch stage over. Now, if anyone needed to take a picture or whatever, I don't know, but this is just the sketch stage. Now we're going to move to tonal. So I'm just going to, the tonal, remember what I said, I was going to use the flow instead of water. And I'm just going to do this in a monochromatic way. And just maybe one tone. Let's just make it monochrome, right? So one tone. Just one tone, just wash the whole thing. So I've got some brown. It's nice to have some blue with the brown. I'm just going to wash in one tone for everything, just to make sure all the shadows and everything just falls in. Everything, it would look like everything in black and white, just monochrome. So let's go. So all this, just a tree area, that serves as a dark tone in there. Just lovely bits of dark tone in there, and somewhere here you can see the darks again. So all this is just a nice monochromatic feel of the whole thing. So washing doesn't have to be the exact color of the tree, but just so that we can enjoy the tonal feel of it, just tonal gradation of the whole thing. So we've got that tree feel in there, and the light bits you can see I've left out, or let's say, yeah. So more tonal things to come in is the shadow. Just make just wash the shadow in here. Remember how I did the shadow? Just I went in with these lines, so just going to go in with save. This is just so it can look almost monochromatic. I have a feeling of almost like a dummy of the whole thing, but you know, you can get the sense of light and shade very quickly. The whole post box is almost in, sorry, the telephone booth is almost in the dark, so I'm just going to darken that whole bit. Some of the buildings there are in the dark. Just leave that, just a little bit of dark. Everything in this area is dark, apart from that car, the van, but you know, just, and then the figures, we're just going to wash them because they're also a bit dark, you know, they're silhouetted, and then just work that in, and all this, this lovely signboard there is dark, that is dark. This whole signboard here, let's just add a little bit more. So I'm just using ultramarine, sienna, just together, just to create a kind of like a shady dark. And here we have this a bit of a lovely bit of dark, all that dark of the shop that's not open. Again, straight in that area. And here, again, it's just dark all over, everywhere here, just dark, all dark. This is just so that the scene starts to feel alive. And then this area under here is dark. So we're just going to shade it, just tone it in, and then a bit of dark under there. And now we can see how all the light bits are beginning to pop out slowly but steadily. We're going to see that you can begin to feel a little bit of drama going on, okay? And so I'm going to leave the middle tones as the orange, and then where it's really light, I'm just going to wash in a few lights to go in there. I'm always thinking of the right brush to use for this. Let's see. It has to feel good. Yeah, that will feel good. So just get some white, again in a wishy-washy way. Just because the light is warm, I'm going to add some warm yellow to the light. Just a little bit of it. And just work the light into some subtle areas, like here. Just a little bit of it. Just a little bit of light. Just a little bit of light in here. Just a little bit of light. Just so that the scene starts to wake up from the dead a bit. You know, we get the light. Without light, nothing really is interesting in painting. But when you've got light, then the whole scene wakes up from the dead. Now here, just the light in that doorway, just that lovely bit of light, the passage of light in there. There's a bit of light that catches some sort of vehicle at the back there. Just washy strokes, not really particular. And then the tree, even though it's greenish, but I'm gonna kind of like scrub in some light effect so we can actually see the tonal effect the tree makes. You know, in a bit of dry brush, let's dry brush that in. So we've got some nice tonal feel to the whole area just over here. Then there's more light. This lovely splash of light right there. A few bits of light just, I mean, these ones, they hardly exist. I'm not going to overstate them. Just a little bits of light here and there, just tiny little pockets. And then we've got the signboard there that captures a bit of light. People wouldn't say it's a brighter light, but in the middle there, the sky that shows where the tree isn't in is really bright. I mean, it's almost bleached out proper. So all that area there, and in between the tree and the house, that is another area. And then maybe on the building, we've got these slabs. Where are we? Somewhere here. We've got a slab there. Something to. I really never like to overwork anything here. Just gonna make it as simple as possible. And yeah, that would do. So this is kind of like, oh, and there's little pockets in the shadows, just little pockets on the floor where the light peeps through, and you like the shadow, you can just feel the shadow effects of light, just pockets of light over there and there. This is just to create all of a sudden the light effects, okay? So the bits of the telephone booth that capture a bit of light, just tiny bits here and there. And then there's a light area of a busyness over here. So yes, and under here there's a bit of light. So overall, I'm going to get a darker, we've got some nice tonal feel to it. I'm just going to go a little slight bit more darker now, just so that we really get the, and this is not the exact color, again it's just washes. I'm using alizarin now with some ultramarine and burnt sienna, just to get a bit more of the tonal values and a bit where it's really dark. So you're going to see it come on a little bit stronger now. In there, around here, around there, all over here, the back of those trees, the phone books, all this, really strong, really strong. Just some of the areas are stronger and darker than others, and that's just what I want to bring out. And even these shadows here, I'm just going to make them really like a bit more darker.
Are you still using the flow medium with that or water?
Yes, it's not water, it's that medium thing. So it just, I just prefer it than the water. I think the water would just dilute it, but this keeps the flow, it really helps the flow without killing the intensity of the paint. So all there, you can just see me getting a little bit darker on some of the real areas of dark. Cool. And I think around this area is dark. And we've got a bit of dark in there. And I think that's, just hold on the edge there. There's a lot of, just, yeah. So I will work on this tonal because this is the secret to the whole thing working. Once I can get this tonal thing to work, the rest of it is trying to place the colors in the right place. And this reveals the drama of the scene. Because now you can see why I chose this picture. This thing you can see here is the skeleton, the bare bones of the picture. And you can see that even if you turn this upside down, this will work as a perfect abstract piece. Because it's interesting, it has unequal amounts of light and dark. At least, sometimes it's better if the light is more and then you have a little bit of dark, or you have a lot of dark and less light, like I said at the beginning. And that's all it takes. I'm just going to wash in the figures too, because they're a little bit dark, just in some vital areas. Just make sure that I key them in. Just a little bit more darks in there, just little tiny marks, just show the dark figures. Top of that lady, where her cloth is, her feet, go straight in, just tips, just little bits of her hand silhouetted, the guy at the back. These are just little marks. The woman with her top, she's got this hip, it's almost like a vest, and then one leg, and then the other leg, and then the shadow. Lovely shadows too. I like to put a lot of alizarin, make the shadows purple, because the floor is kind of yellow ochreish, and if the shadows are purple, it will work as a nice complementary color. So again, the shadows, just working in those shadows right over to the side of the building there. Notice that where everything is dark is irrelevant, really. If somewhere is dark and irrelevant, you don't have to hold on to it that much. Just allow it to flow. I'm still using that flow enhancer for everything so far, so you can see how important that flow thing is, because it just creates a texture also with the whole thing. Then it just helps a little bit of just rinse my brush. I've got a bit of light in the middle of this area. Don't want to lose that in between. Just in between the two trunks, there's a little bit of light in between, one bit there, another bit there, and some bits just in the middle here. And here. Then the top of that the truck is just one bit there and one bit under. And I think at this point, I take another picture. So this is the second stage of the painting, where we've got the tonal interplay of light and shade. So now everything is in the tonal, everything works tonally. And I like this stage because this is the secret to the whole painting. Now we're going to work on color. Pure, luscious color, straight. So I'm going to work from the back to the front. I'm going to work on the sky, then the tree, then everything till I whisper, 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 and then I come forward. How are we doing for time? 20:15, not bad. Okay, so let's go. Remember, I don't stop throughout, so if you're going to take a break, you take a break. I'll chat and chat and chat and talk and talk and not stop. I just want to make sure this is positioned well. Okay. All right, and if you have any questions, please do ask or let me know. I do my best to make sure I explain everything, but still there might be things that might be a little bit mystifying to you. Just let me know and I will do my best to explain. So now I'm going straight into the painting proper. Right, I need the right brush for this too. Okay. So now I'm going to go to the sky. The sky should be blue. So I've taken some white with some blue. And because it's a hot day, I'm going to add some lemon into it. Just a little bit, but that should be my sky. And I'm going to whip that into the areas where the sky is. Notice I'm not following the picture because the picture has bleached out the sky and made it white. But because I've been doing a lot of plein air, I know that the sky is seldom white. So this is where the advantage comes in when you, the advantage of working outdoor. You can compensate for what the picture tries to lie and tell some fake things, and you know, nah, it can't be like that. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of have an edge, and that's why it's good to work from life and from photos. So one informs the other. There's a little bit of light in the middle there, and then these pockets in the tree over there. Just that's enough for the sky because we don't have much sky in the whole painting. So I'm going to rinse my brush and go straight into the tree. But before the tree, because there's some buildings at the back of the tree, and I'm working from the back to the front, I'm going to go for the buildings. Just remember that. So now there's these buildings at the back. Some of them are brown. So you see me mixing these browns together. They're kind of like dark browns, but they're cool because that's in the shadow. So I'm going to add cobalt. That's to cool down the brown. All the browns, just cool down the browns in there. But they would show as brown, but they will be cool versions. And I'm just going to whip those in. So this is too dark. I'm just going to add a little bit more in the middle there. So this will go well. That's getting too warm, but I like it all the same. So I keep adjusting until I'm happy, right? And I'm working with shape. So once I can feel a shape around the area, I just lay the colors and let the colors be alive. So a little bit of, and I swing. That's the secret. I love to swing. I'm not seeing things as they are. I'm seeing things as shapes. So when I see a shape, I lay the color in, just as a shape, and nothing more than a shape. If I'm thinking of things as things, then I lose the impressionist spirit in me. All I'm looking for is shapes. If I can just get shapes to work, that's a blessing. When I start seeing things, because in plein air, if you're focusing on things, then you're not going to complete this work. So you want to try and complete it and catch the immediacy of the scene. And so that's why I'm just treating it as shapes. And you can notice I'm going into the sky color because I'm just introducing that instead of mixing a new color of white, because there's some white lines in the building, maybe around there, just just see me. But because they're in the shade, I don't want them to shout out loud. So they're going to have this bluish feel, those white lines just in the middle, just little tiny strokes. They don't have to shout that much, but they will be in there just to help the whole piece together. It's architecture at the back. I'm not an architect, I'm a painter. I don't need to worry about the windows, I told you, unless there's this person that's saying, I live there, the second floor, capture that. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. But apart from that, I'm working from the back. So now in between the trees, remember, this is just working from the back. And I just want the color to feel fresh, bounce off everything, just feel fresh. And if I need to cool anything, you see me going into the blues to cool things down. That's kind of like for this area upwards. Now I can move to the tree. The first tree, because I've got a bit of building in the background, just the shapes, that will do. So the tree at the back is a dark green. I'm going to take Viridian, lovely Viridian, and because it's so dark, I'm going to add alizarin to that, and a bit of ultramarine. That creates a very dark green, you know. So it's the main thing is green, but at least it has a bit of darkish feel to it. Let's add a little brown just to spice it up a bit. And that would, I watch just the way it flows is the tree kind of like, you see me, you know, just using this brush in the most, I would say, loose manner, just to get that dark shape at the back. And that leads me all the way into where, you know, the rest of the architecture was, but I just allow it to run, you know, just allow that background tree to run in, and I'll leave it right there. Don't want to overwork that, that's cooked already. Now, let's go to the branch, the trunks, okay? So the trunks, I'm going to make it a little bit warm, but they're dark, but they're warmer darks. I'm going to add a little burnt sienna into that. Just whip that in, one of them, just to change things so that they don't look the same. Just going to make the other one a little bit of another kind of dark, but maybe some reddish dark. It's not like that, but it's just, I don't like things being the same. Always have some variety of strokes, variety of marks, and all that. Now I'm going into this tree in the background. So I'm going to go into some dark greens. So I already got the greens, so let's just start moving into the darks, all right? The dark areas, and I'm going to go as if it's a warm green. So I'm going to use more of this oxide in there, and we're just going to pile that, just keep moving this. Keep knowing fully that the building starts around here, so I'm going to keep a straight stroke there, but the rest of it, I'm just going to go and feel fresh, just allow the brush to do the work, to move across, to go. And remember, I'm only thinking in terms of shape, so I'm not worrying myself about whether I'm getting every leaf in there. That's irrelevant, that's not what it's all about. And I'm just keeping this going around, and I've got the shadow shapes of the green. And that kind of will do. Now we're going into the mid-tones. And I'm going to add some more kind of ochreish colors into the green and a slight bit of yellow. Just introduce a slight bit of yellow. All of a sudden, you start getting a slight bit of yellow. And these ones just suddenly start to, you know, gain some freedom. Right? So I'm going to go right in here. You notice I'm going to mix it with some of the darks for the shadow patterns in here, where it goes in, another bit of shadow pattern in there, and underneath it goes a little bit darker, so I'm going to keep that dark and make sure it interacts with the architecture that I did at the bottom, and we can have a nice kind of like beautiful feel of foliage just all over here. Now I'm going to make it warmer as I go along, so a little bit more tones now, a little bit more yellows into it. Don't go too soon, just sneak up on it. Now we're going to go into the yellows that are kind of making it, and watch how I'm moving the brush, just like leaves are, you know, it's the impression. So I'm not kind of like getting bogged down with the detail, but I am following the shadow patterns or the light patterns to get this and to make it feel right. And that feels a little bit ochreish, so I'm going to add some ochre to it. Just on that side over there, just make it feel fresh and flow. Now clean my brush, and go into some real electric sort of green. So see that yellow I piled there? Mix it in, really run it in, add some ochre to it. Now that makes us have a little bit more of the lovely bits of green at the edges. Just pile that on, lovely bit of activity going on. Don't overdo it, a little bit just finds itself over here, over there. Just keep on moving. There's tree bits over here, a little bit in the middle, and then I'm going straight to the top here. You've got these bits that find themselves just around here, around there, just lovely bits of the tree goes in, and all this seems to be light. There's a bit of light there, and in here, just the tree. I'm trying to make everything go kind of like work together now. So I'm gonna go some brighter greens, just capture that lovely bit of green in the middle. Just try my best to keep it alive and ticking. And then there's a bit of white, because there's some glistering ones, just some that are really heightened, and you feel it. That's to show that it's really hot and it's a sunny day. You get some really highlighted ones that just show the daytime and the effect of sunshine on the leaves. And just following that interplay, I've already been able to kind of like get the shadow patterns and the light patterns of the tree in there without overworking it. What I want to be careful is to make sure that the midtones flow. So I'm going to go into the middle and really work on the flow of it. So you can see me going into the darks a bit and making sure that the flow works, because you don't want it to be sudden, and that would do. So all the tree business is almost over. You don't no overworking on the leaves and stuff like that, just to get some variety in the shadow and all that. That would do. Now let's move to the building, because the building is the next thing in front here. It has some really warm oranges, which is good, because that shows the sunlight on those red brick buildings, and I like that. So I'm going to cook this up, make sure that the yellow really, it's really bright, and to bounce off that dark, it makes it interesting. So again, squinting, all I need is just more orange and yellow. Don't actually exaggerate, just make it a little bit more interesting. So just straight line for the building, bang bang, no overdoing it, just and another straight line right there. No overdoing it, a little bit over there, one slab, another slab there, just before the three, another slab there, just a little bit, and stop. I want it to feel alive, and then I'm going straight into the whites. The whites, I'm going to add some yellows to them, just the slabs in the middle. So there are some that are just straight slabs, just like one shot, bang. I like to make the stroke just one shot, go in there and slam it, no overworking. Because if you're working outdoor, because all you're going to see is shapes. Your brain doesn't have time to think, you're just running in the shapes and going straight for it. And then I'm just going to work in the middle tone for the slab. Remember that slab that I got in before? It's the one that goes straight across like that. It's a bit of a greyish slab, so I'm just mixing up a grey here, and I'm just going to run it with the flow, with the flow enhancer, because just to make it feel like that slab goes all the way down, and then there's a place that it gets a bit dark, so I'm going to just mix a kind of like a darkish bit here, just at the corner where that slab comes in and turns, and there's some real nice darks underneath. So I'm just going to mix some darks for burnt sienna, ultramarine, just to get some darks in there, because what you notice is that all of a sudden we are leading us into this really dark area here. So really make sure I get those darks feeling good, all the darks, and that's it, that will do, and then a straight line. And yeah, just need another dark in between the slab, just to create that kind of, I think it's the way the moldings go, and I leave it, because none of that really excites me. And that's the one thing in painting, just anything that you think is not the reason why you're doing the painting shouldn't take too much of your attention. So that will be enough. That will be fine. And now I've got that bit of building in. Now I can get a bit of definites, like let's get some of these, I'll call them the signboards in, just straight strokes, 1, 2, and then it gets a little bit lighter at the bottom. So just work the color in, just carefully, 1 shot, 2 shot there, that's it. Underneath, on top of it, there's a really strong dark. So I'm just always, when I want to mix my darks, if you notice I brought the black, but I'm not using the black because sometimes the black has too much carbon, it kills the color. So I'm trying my best to avoid black. So if you get to get the darks, I'm always mixing loads and loads of colors together, and that's mainly ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and even I can move green into it. So that's me. I'm going to get this whole dark shape here. Just really bring that down. 1, 2. And I like to vary the darks. Just makes it more interesting. Just vary the darks. Don't just make it one color. Just adds a little bit of spice to things. All that. And then there's a bit of yellow in there. I'm going to put that later on. But let's just fill it up with the darks. And then this whole area has a bit of blue. So I'm just going to go, it's like a grayish blue, so it's not that strong. So just put that in there. I think it stops after this line. And now, there's a bit of a shade. And I'm just going to put this dark in. I just want to finish that area and put the darks in. And I'm going to follow the perspective lines. Again, I like to mix the colors, not leave it as one thing. I'm going to actually move some red in there, just to vary the darks, just to make it a bit interesting, and follow the perspective lines so that I know it looks interesting, even though there's no detail there. Towards the bottom, it really gets dark. So I'm going to really go for a strong, strong dark at the bottom around there. And then, because it has some verticals too, you can see me pulling the strokes downwards and underneath. So that creates some nice interest on that side. So let's carefully now go into a little bit more interest, and that is some of the shapes in the in-betweens and around. So I'm going to put a strong dark on this area. This is a strong dark. Let some brown go in there too. So no color ever, just, if you notice, I'm never allowing one color, one dark to prevail. I'm always kind of varying it, mixing things up, just making it look interesting, because at the end of the day, it's painting. I can make it what I want it to be, just to feel good on the eye. And that's the main thing. There's a bit of a light intersection in there. I've just flown it through. And that's how I'll leave that area. And now let's go straight into these lights here and the yellow signboard at the back there. I'm going to change brushes because I'm going into some smaller shapes here. So I'm going to look for a brush that can really give me exactly what I want. Always looking for the right brush. Yeah, this will do. Because the right brush saves me, because I can look at what the shape it's going to give, and I know that it will give me exactly what I want stroke-wise, because my whole work is based on the strokes. So now, this hot, lovely light that's right there, you know, I talked about it at the beginning. I can really face that in and whoop that light in there, just lovely bit of light, whoop, whoop. And then I can come here, lovely, lovely light in there, bang. Just, this is where it starts to get like the drama in it. And then these little bits of light over there, I'm going to make those a bit ochreish to start off, because in the middle there, where the buildings are, you've got these lights, and I think it's the sky color, but it's, I don't think you can see the sky, I think they're just white shapes. So I'm just going to see them as shapes, but I'm going to make sure that I lighten them, and some of them are just in between there, light, and a light, I think there's a light line, so I'm just going to go thin on my brush, make sure I can pick a stroke right through right there, and I think it's somewhere like that, and I'll leave it. And in the middle of the trees, I think a light shows up somewhere, Make sure the stroke is definite enough in, and let's go to the yellow. So there's a yellow signboard there. It's not full yellow, so I bleach it out with a bit of white, but just lay it straight there. I would love to actually exaggerate that yellow and put some lovely bits of pure yellow in there, just to liven up the painting. Just a lovely shape. Now, let's move on. Some light strokes just at the bottom. Carefully light strokes just at the bottom of it right there. Continue. Then there's these darks. So with the flow thing, I'm going to mix some of those darks. Make sure I get a strong dark though, first of all, for the shadow parts. So very strong dark for the shadow parts. Just really getting into this now. So there's a shadow here, there's one there, and there's something there, just in the middle. Then you have a door, and then it lightens up a bit. So I'm going to add ochre to that. So it's not a pure dark. So you can see the ochre. One stroke, just fill it up. One stroke, fill it up. These are just, remember, they're shapes. Let's see them as shapes. And once you see them as shapes, the whole fear of it going wrong and all, you just know that's a shape. I've just got a shape there, and that will help. I'm going to press some more ultramarine blue. It's always the first color to finish because I use a lot of it in my dark, so that's the first one to gain a little bit of more color. Move on, and there's these other shapes now. They're very light. I'm going to be working them in just under here. There's a slab there, slab underneath. These are greys. They're nice greys. But we've got this lovely dark. Let's get that dark in, strong and lovely. I like the darks, but I don't want them to be dead, so that's why I did use black. There's a nice shadow right there, It just shows exactly what's happening, the way the light goes across, and here, all this. Now, I've got this dark here, all this dark in the middle, all over. Remember what I said, I won't stop. This is how I do it. Go on and on and on. You might want a break. You might want relief. For me, until the battle is over, we keep painting and painting and painting. And talking and talking and talking. And it don't stop, okay? So don't think he's going to take a breathe, huh? No. You got the wrong boy in today. No breathing here. Okay, so... no commenting, nothing. All right. So keep going in the middle there. So I keep seeing shapes. Oh yes, I've seen another vertical that goes straight down there. And then the tree, there's another one in there. So don't worry about me. I'll be fine. You come back and meet me where you left me. Baby, don't move nowhere. Okay, so this is a nice shape in there. And you notice the light of the van. So I've been coming whispering all the way from the back, just opening up these channels and little bits of abstracty shapes. There's actually a phone box in there. It's red, but it's a dead red, so I mix it into the pools. Just to mix it into the pools. So you're going to see some sort of reddish shape. Let's get the heat in it, but you're not going to really see that. So it's a dead one, but it's there. And then there's a dead orange in there because there's these clamps on the road. These are just little abstracty things you put in the middle of the painting, fills it up, but at least you know that it's there. Like in the middle there, I can see some little shapes. And all I can see is the shapes, and it's like tiles of color. And that's all I'm marking because I'm following what I see. It's hardly an invention, but I'm making sure that I'm being truthful to the marks. So there's people in there, so I'm marking them. And some of it is red, like there's a red bus. That is a little bit brighter, so I'm just going to put a speck of red in the middle there, just hold on to that. It's just little things like that, and then the highlight on top of the bus is just a lovely slab of reddish brightness, just there, just in the middle, just somewhere there. Keep working, keep moving, and then there's light that hits this area too, just nice light on top there, nice light in the middle, and then we keep it as it goes along. So all you can see now, the guy at the back, I'm whispering forward as I come along But as I'm seeing, there's a yellow shape in the middle of the figures. So I'm going to go, it's not a bright yellow, but it's definitely there. So it's a killed up yellow. So I'm just over here and mixing some sort of dead yellow. So you can see the deadness of the yellow. It's not as bright as the one on top, but it's there. Because it frames that woman's head and makes us at least know that she is in the middle somewhere there. Just keep that flowing. And now, I'm going to go straight into the foam box. Because remember I said I'm coming from the back to the front and moving forward. Now I'm going to go to the foam box. Overall, that foam box is in the dark. So I mix a lot of alizarin and a lot of alizarin and ultramarine just to get that darkness, even some green, because it's the complementary of the red to create a more darker feel. That's overall. So let's go. Overall, I'm just going to rock that in. That lovely bit of dark, you're going to see the darks, and then you're going to sneak in the red. So everything which first of all would kind of have this darkish feel, just to make it alive, just all the way through. Just little bits of dark here and there, knocking it through here, just every corner, making it dark, and then we'll sneak in the light, just the beautiful red blazing bits. Okay, so that kind of like silhouettes the whole thing. We can enjoy that for a while, and then let's work in just some other darks before we sink in the red. Like that figure over here, she is enveloped with, I'll make it some sort of purple. I like it to be purplish, so the shadows being purple, really like that, because purple and yellow, they're complementary. So if I can get some purplish tones into the shadows, I really like that. So you can see me trying to mix a purple there, and the shadows that go across just in here, and nice shadows in between there that lead up to that area, and nice shadows around here. Always trying to make some purple into the shadows. I'm not enjoying that brush again, that's why I'm changing. I'm going for a brush. The brush has to work straight on with the stroke. So it's like the anatomy of a stroke depends so much on the brush. So I must make sure that the brush is the right brush for the right passage on the painting, because that's the kind of way I work. So don't want to miss things or waste time. Just want to get the stroke where I need the stroke, and then I can come into it later. Now the shadow, this woman has a nice shadow. It goes across. That goes across, there's a nice shadow there. This is another nice shadow that goes in. And all this lovely bit of shadow, just make it more purplish and a little bit light. Don't make the shadow too dark, so it can still look interesting. So even when I get here, I'm going to mix this purplish shadow that's not going to be too dark, and it's going to be a little bit interactive. So I'm going to move back and just kind of watch it flow. So yeah, so that's the kind of shadow I want. Doesn't have to be dead on dark. And I'm going to put some ochre into it because a little bit of warm shows around it. So I'm just going to move across and just keep it going. And then again, following the perspective as it goes down and down and down. Some of it feels greener, so I'm just going to mix some green into it. Once I feel the green, I feel a little bit of green. There's some sort of optical greens in there. And then some cobalts. So I'm just crazily mixing the tones that I feel are there. Like sometimes the leaves, the effect of the leaves, because these are leafy shadows. This is from a tree. So this is pure, like almost science, but you have to think them up somehow. So I'm also going to some dark parts now. So not everything is going to be shade too light. Now let's go into some darks. So you have to think in terms of what's happening. If the leaves are casting shadow on the ground, then they should have some green in the shadow. It's just a way of making it feel real and alive and interesting than just working with the tone and just almost like mindlessly not thinking that, wow, what about if this happens and that happens? And no one sets the rules. So remember, you're the painter, you're the person who runs the shots. This is dark, even in reality. So I'm going to work in some darker shots in the middle, just darker shots in the middle. And all these are just shadow. So the interaction of that shadow is all I'm doing here, just keeping it, you know, working it through, keeping the whole shadow, making it look interesting. Again, the phone box is red, so there should be more red where the phone box shadow is cast. So let's get that a little bit darker on that side. And that's it. All over here. So you can see that the whole thing looks where we really wanted the interest of the work to be, is where we've got that area there. We've really got the light, and we haven't even treated it yet, but it's just the underpainting that makes it look interesting. Now, just these shapes here, and we've almost covered it. We can go into the detail, and that will be the blocking stage. So this will be the third stage. Remember, the first stage was the sketch stage, then the value patterns. Now this is the overall blocking of the thing before we go into the niggly detail. Knowing when to stop with the niggly details is so important, because if you're doing impressionism, you don't want everything to look all cooked up and ready. You want to leave some things for the eye, for the viewer to enjoy, and so you don't want everything to look cooked up. And I can tell you what, because you're looking at it from afar, it's going to look a little bit better than me looking at it up front, because you're seeing the clearer impression because you're looking at it from further distance. And that's what the impressionists, you know, we try to do, is to create an impression of it so that it has a clear effect of what we want the viewer to enjoy. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to sneak in the reds, the hot reds, but not going to sneak it in. Let's go for the middle tone first. So middle tone reds, just around the corners, like, okay, so middle tone reds here, there's a bit of the shaft there, the foam box there, on the top there. These are the mid-tones. So carefully, we're drawing into this dark silhouette to pick out the tones that will make this interesting. And these are the mid-tones. They're not the real ones that should make it really burst, but just the ones that we figure out. And then in the middle, we have this line, one stroke there, one stroke there, and in the middle, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 7 lines. Just an impression. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just keep it simple. 5, 6, 7. Just keep it simple. Don't want to overwork anything. 2 lines. One there, another one there. Now let's go sneaking in that hot red. Carefully. We've got a lot of it now, and just bring it into places where, ooh, it just feels alive. Wow, just beam, bang, beam, just lovely bits of red. It's going to come in fresh. Let's add some yellow to it. Want to really live the red thing now, and the way it hits the side of the foam box, it comes down. There's a lot of interaction there, just little bits of red. You see it because of the shadows that comes in. And then I need another brush, because that one can't do the passages. So I'm going to leave that out. And I'm going to a little, just a smaller brush. Make sure this one can really do it. This is not what to do. I lick my brushes. Don't do that at home. I like them. That's why I need them. If you can trust yours, do so. If not, please don't do that. So yeah, got a bit of light in there, and then a little bit of more interesting features as we go along. Just things, and I'm not following it per se, but I want it to just have some just bits and pieces where the light is more interesting on it than the other areas, so that it shows that light has passed through it, and in some areas has an effect of the light hitting it. And then there's this dead red, which is the reflected tones on that side and on this side. Just wake it up a bit, just here and there. And then we've got these radiant lines that go across. They just go across, go across, go across. You see them by the side. Just feel them, in the middle. So I'm going to put some strong darks into it too now. Just make sure Alizarine with some strong darks just underneath and in between, just in some areas. And I'll stop. Okay, so this is another stage which I'm going to take before I start going into the detail. So now we're going into the final stage. So everything you can see is covered up. This is the next stage, which is this is just what the whole thing like covered and ready. Now, so from now till about 9:30, I'm really going to just take my time and really get into it. So smaller brushes, just going to clean out all these ones, make sure they're clean, because acrylic can be brutal on the brushes. Now use smaller brushes to do the rest of it, especially the figures, so make them feel good and alive. And if you have any questions, try to explain everything, but you know, there might be some things that you know, always feel free to ask.
Do you always use MDF, or do you use hand?
Yes, always use MDF when it's board. Yeah, when I need to do board. And this would be the largest size or so that I would use MDF. Anything larger than this would have to be canvas. Right, so you can see me bringing out my riggers now, smaller brushes, and I'm just gonna just go through the same process, but now I'm gonna start putting more little, just tiny bits and pieces that will add more interest. And I'm gonna start from the tree again, and the background again, and inside it. So all the little niggly bits that I did, but this time really focusing on detail. So again, the tree, the sky color that I got in the beginning, because there's some sky pockets that are inside that dark that I can just start putting in. And those ones are here. So just get those ones in. Just little sky pockets, just all that in that area. A bit of yellow, keep it warm, nice sky in the middle, just lovely bits. Just make it just try and work it in such a way that it doesn't look like you've planned the thing. And that's really hard to do, but just so that it doesn't look planned. So shake it up, work the whole thing so it looks organic. That's the key word, yeah. Don't want it to look planned and stiff and all. I'm trying, but I think mine's looking planned, but that's fine. It's just a demo, no pressure. But it's just to create that bit of air going through the trees. So good, because the birds can fly through, they say. And then over here too, just look at those little tiny bits of interest, just around the corners. You know, you get this like bits and pieces coming through. I think they bring life to it when you kind of like are able to capture those little bits of light coming through. It keeps it organic and alive, and the edges don't look too carved out, like you can work into it. Like I'm exaggerating some of the bits and pieces around that area just to make it look interesting and filed off against the building. Remember, I must make sure that I keep that straight feel to where the sky actually ends in connection with the building. So there's a nice white kind of brightness in there, and then keep those organic little dots and pieces there, just lovely bits. And then in here you can see those little, these are tinier ones, so I'm actually going to rinse the brush, go for a tinier brush, and put some of those tiny, really nice niggly pockets in. Just little niggly ones, here, there, just 8 little dots of them. This just keeps the painting alive. Everything now is a little bit on the detail side. Don't want to overdo it, but the temptation is to overdo it, because then you get all into it. This is the part where it can be the death of the painting if you're an impressionist. But if you're a realist and you like to paint every little tiny jot and wiggle of the thing, that's fine. I mean, everyone paints the way they like to do it, and the way that satisfies their, I would say, convictions of how to go about these things. So I'm just gonna play a little tic-tac, just mess that up a bit. Okay, that will do for that area. I'm just gonna work in the middle. There's a dark another tree trunk, which I probably missed out, because these are smaller shapes, I can actually get them in and work them through. So there's another tree, which is there, and I can just move that in and just get that. So I just want to, like to break the thing up and make it look a little bit organic. That's the key thing. And then greens again. So I'm working those greens in that area, just filling up that space, making it look alive, and just making it look all planned out as if I knew what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? You get to a point you just want to fake it, fake it till you make it, they say. Everything around this area now is just keep giving the tree. So I'm going back into some greens now, because I don't want it to look too planned and all. Let's leave that. Now there's some air pockets, or no, not air pockets, but a bit of light, just small little pockets of light around this area. So I'm just gonna, hone on that and just work those ones through. Just little diggles of tree, just the tones, but it's more in the mid-tone, and I'm going into that flow thing, not water again, it's the flow thing, just little niggles of water, tone, just in the darks, just to break it up a bit. And now I'm going to go into some brighter bits, so get the ochre and get some yellow and really work on some of the brighter bits, just little tiny, that's too ochreish, so get more yellow and a little bit more green, just breaking that whole thing up, making it like alive again. It's almost like we're bringing life to some of the areas with a smaller version of the brush. That's too green, it's too acidic. When it's too acidic, I always mix up the green with some sort of ochreish thing, so it doesn't really look too, when the trees start looking too green, like a green apple, like a Granny Smith sort of thing, then you're in trouble, because then it's going to look too acidic. You want to break it up a bit, add some ochre to your greens, add a warm to the greens, just break it up, anything but making it a pure green. And just so, what I'm trying to say here is don't just make the greens just green and white, always add another color to it. And I believe ochre, from what I remember, ochre, the yellow ochre, just is the perfect sort of color to really do that. So you can see me getting into the spotlight with the greens, making this yellows even more brighter, going back into the greens, and going back into the ochres, trying to mix up some sort of funny color that is going to just liven up the whole thing. That's too acidic. You can see me running away straight away, going back into the green again, saying, no way, that's too deadly. Don't want it to be too acidic, I call it, because then it looks like it's a foreign green. We still want it to have the life. I think that would do. That's kind of, still want it to be alive and all of that. So ticking all this area. I like to add those greens in. Whoa, I like that bit of texture there. That's lovely. Just allow that to flow. A bit of just alive and keep this thing alive. So we're really going back into those greens, allowing it. Let's add some yellows at the top area there. Just really letting the texture flow through now on those trees. Remember, we've done the spade work, now we're just getting into the niggly bits and allowing the thing to evolve, keeping it alive. A sunny day it is, remember, so more yellows will prove to the looker, the onlooker, that the day must have been a bright day. So just going straight into those yellows again. You can see me loading the brush. This is texture coming in now. It's now coming active action, allowing the tree just really going in organic shapes, just little bits, nothing organized. That's the key thing. Don't let anything look too organized, and then the top area too, and then that's it. So that shows the effect of light on that area. And then I'm going to work some middle tones so it doesn't look too sunny. So just some middle tones into this, and I'm going to leave that for now, because those middle tones are just here. You see me breaking it up a bit, just here and there and the other. It just keeps it 3D-ish. Now, let's come down to the ground floor. We've left the top floor now. Ground floor. Now, there's a shape I've seen. It's like the purple shape, a nice purple shape. It's got lovely, just, I don't know, I like the sign. I don't want to know what the sign is, I just like the shape. So it just breaks up that area. That's all I want to see. Once it breaks the area up, that's fine. And then there's these other little tone things that come in, which I can see, just little tones here. And then there's a breakage in between the sign there, just a breakage. So I can put that there. And then this sign over here, it has a break here. Just, how are we doing for time? And I hope oh yes, someone tell me when it's 9. It's like, I knew, I know. It's like, woo, 9 o'clock. Yeah, I liked, oh, the alarm. Ding, ding. Ah, yeah, so good. Why I do that, you know, sometimes you can get carried away. That's the worst thing that can happen in the demo, is you just get carried away, enjoying yourself, and then there's no time to finish. Oh, awful. So now I know I have half an hour left. I know how to judge things, and I know what not to do and what to spend time on. So you can see I've got all this top area. It's looking fancy, looking sunny. I'm enjoying that. It feels like here comes the sun. Do 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 do. You know, you just feel the warmth. Do do do. You know, and this is the continuation now. So now I'm still working on little bits of detail, but I'm not going to spend as much time on the building. Remember, it's not the relevant thing, but I don't want to leave it just all the way not sorted. So just a few slabs, you know, sketchy lines. This is what I do. This is where I fake it. So just these sketchy lines makes it look as if I knew what I was doing. Just these lines, just lines in there. Just looks like I actually knew what I was doing, but I have no clue. The reason is, as much as I like architecture, I don't want to be a slave to it. So I like to create these sketchy lines that show like I know what I'm doing. So there's a light bit in there that I can enhance that, because that would make the viewer look like, oh, he knows where to put the lights. Oh, he must have been really observing. That's another one there. So it's a plan. It's all painting. It's like a game. You can play it well. Where the lights come in, that's all I need in that area to make you up. And then there's a bit of light that hits. It's like a yellowish light, orangish yellowish light, but it's into a dark. So I'm just going to capture that sort of deadish light, and it just hits the side of that area right there. It's not too much. And then there's a kind of like a strip right here. You don't want to make that too overhead. Now I'm going into some of the tones. These are the dark tones that I just placed darks before. Now, you see ultramarine? It is a thirsty color. Now, look at that. The only color I've had to replace, how many times now? Twice. So, ultramarine is one of my most used colors. You can see that. It's invaluable. I could not do without it on the palette. I even use it more than white, if you notice. So, because it's just a lovely color. Now, going into some real strong darks now. And the darks are the slabs, just really bring it out. Bang. Go for that. Brilliant. Just really work that in. Get this flowing now. That dental surgery thingy, you know, just really push that. It's really strong dark, and then underneath it, there's a line, just a little line. I sketch that in, and in between I sketch that one. And just sketchy lines now make it feel like it's busy and interesting. But then there's a little bit here which shows like just kind of like I would call it railings, and then all of a sudden we have these faint yellows like the gold. So I'm going to mix that into the dark because they're not supposed to shout, but we still want to kind of put them in just in case the shop owner comes to the exhibition and they say, oh, it painted my shop. Oh, I have to buy this. Oh, so I'm going to put it in, who knows, you never know. So it's a dead color, you know, it's there. It has two circles by the side, and then coin exchange. Ooh, that's where so just for that purpose. That's the only reason, no other reason. The coin, just go coins, and then exchange, and it's finished. Never, I don't want it to get too much into that. And then there's a slab of yellow. That's just a slab. It's a dead color. It should not overrule. So that's it. We just feel it's there. We know it's there, and it's not been overworked. And then we're going to keep another kind of slab open there, and a bit of purple. I like that purple coming through. Just a little purplish tone around here. So I'm just going to put 2 strokes of purple. One to be a thicker kind of purple, not dead one, and then another one just around there. I don't even know what it is, but it just breaks up the color. And then that same kind of purple you see on a signboard here. I'm just going to treat it as a slab of lightish blue, just on the side of this area here. Boom.
You seem to be using your brush in a different way on the details. Are you holding it much nearer
Yes,
the end?
Because now this is the detail stage. When it's when it's more like the blocking in, I'll go that way. And when it's more like the niggly bits, I go this way. Because then it's just like more detail. I'm no more being, so this is another kind of like inscription. So I'm like a sign writer, not a real sign writer, you know, just a con man, just deceive the people, like exchange, like I know what I'm doing, like just put something there. Because at the end of the day, it's an effect. You just want an effect. And once you can get the effect, like there's some writing on that other one. It's not the writing that matters, but just create something and then stop. I really just going to put some stashes of light in the middle there. Just maybe just 1, 2, no overworking. A little bit there and another little bit of here. Just never overwork anything that's not important. Now let's get into the stash of light, because that is an important place. That we talked about at the very beginning. There's a bit of shadow that I missed out, and just around it, it's a dark thing there, and there's a bit of shadow that comes through. But the beauty is, if I can get some sketch lines in, then I'm going to be able to create some sort of interest in this area, just some sort of interest. So there we go. That slab moves across like that, and then the bottom part of that shop is there. There's a bit of a dark here. Strong darks I need now. So to just frame that door. Strong darks, 1, 2, 1, 2, stop. And then in here, this is a really dark part in there. A bit of the slab in there. There's a door, and then just bang. The side, bang. Just keep it. I don't want these areas to be overworked or look like they want to draw attention. But there's one strong dark under the yellow signboard. That is important. Just let that one be. Boom. Okay. Now we're getting into the figures, which is, I can't wait to do this, because they are they're in the center of interest. Okay. Let's see where we are. Oh, good. Oh, lovely. So now let's go into the figures. But before we get into the figures, the back figures, I'm just going to mix some sort of flesh tone and dig away into the lights around it. So just mix some sort of flesh tone, a light flesh tone in the sun, and just start placing it just in appropriate places, like her neck over there. Just a little bit more of that. The neck, her neck, it captures the light. Her hand just over here, and it runs across. That's it. Just in key places, if I can wake the light up a bit and create that. Her face here has a bit of light. And then her neck. And then her arm. You see, it's the effect of the light that is really matters. And then her hand catches some light just right there. The guy at the back, yeah. I'm not overworking anything. This girl's hand comes out. Very light touches. very light touches is what it needs. Now, I'm going to put on the light, like turn on the light now with a lot of, now it's going to be thick. Remember I said I'm going to keep the shadows, but when it comes to the light, really turn on that light. So I'm going to put ochre, I'm going to put yellow, and a lot of white. And I'm going to just make that light area interesting. Some of the strokes I'm going to pull out like this. So you're going to feel the light coming in and working through the road, working through her legs. So you feel the light. It's like, I'm going to go into even some greens. Keeping this light interesting is what makes the center of interest interesting. So all over here, you see me running with the light. And because it's also horizontal, I'm going to go into it horizontally, just like I'm walking horizontally, and then people moving vertically. So it keeps that area fired up. Each place, each particle, each area, each shape. Look at how the light now brings some real clarity to the whole painting, because this is why we chose this at the beginning. This is why this was the reason. It's just because of this light, nothing else. Every other thing is a subplot to all this. This is the area, so I can play tic-tac here all day long and make sure it looks like what, like interesting. Like all this, the light going through. Because you want to feel that light. It's the color of light. It's the daytime light. It's flowing, it's moving, it's nothing but heat. And I'm going to add different yellows into it, just like you see me going into that kind of yellow, just making it interesting. Not the last thing I want here is for this place to be dead. So you see, I didn't just place the color in, I want the color to be interesting. Now I'm going to get to where there's some shadows and the trees. So I'm going to go horizontally and create that tree effect in the shadows, just in that area there. So it just as if there's a few shadows that go in, and most of all, just make sure I get it through. Again, more shadow effect of the trees in the distance just there. And there's some niggly lights just in the background, like ding, ding dong, you know, just striking the thing. At the back, these are, and then, oh, in the distance, this is crazy where it's happening, right? There's these little dots of light, shimmery light, dotty things, like, oof. And I'm going to break them up into different colors as if I knew what I was doing in there. But it's all a fast fake thing. It's just like you're capturing little dotty things in the middle, trying to make that area look interesting and all. But you know, it's just a game. So everything is a subplot. This whole thing is all about the light, the shadow pattern. Remember what I said at the beginning? Now, let's go for the light on the car. Just a little bit more light shines on the car. We don't want to overwork it. We'll bring that in. So I'll leave that now, and let's go into some strong darks on the figures, just to bring them out.
We have a question from Susan Clare. She says, "What brand of paints are you using, please?"
So, yeah, this is a good time. I am advertising for Winsor & Newton. So these are Winsor & Newton acrylics, and another acrylic called La Cox or something like that. So, but mostly they are Winsor & Newton, because I was one of the pioneer artists that helped them develop these colors by testing them out, and I think they're wonderful. The only reason why I enjoyed them also is their colors don't shift that much after you lay them down. You know, sometimes when you use an acrylic, it can then look like the color has changed. But these ones are like, woo, everlastingly beautiful. The same thing. You can see they paid me to do this, you know. But, you know, I didn't plan the question, but it did come up, and there's an opportunity to...
Oh, it says Susan Clare from Winsor & Newton Paints. Oh, no, it didn't.
I have to say, she lives in Jamaica, so you're pretty still down in Jamaica.
Oh, wow. This is interesting stuff going on here. What technology does. Oh, it was great. Jamaica. Oh. Okay, so here we go. Darks on the figures. That first leg on the corner there, let's put that in. The shadow that this, the backpack puts in. And then at the end of that leg, There is a lovely little dark on the corner, and over there and under, just leave that. Again, we go into this figure. These shadows are getting too dark. I don't like that. I still want to make them colorful, so, but at the same time, I like the mystery of the dark against the light. So we put that, and then another leg, just really anatomy, you feel the calf in there, and then there's tones. The tones underneath her dress, and then the top she's wearing a short sleeve top. Remember when I just knocked in the tones of her top in there? Just boom, boom, boom. And now I'm into just things. I don't want to overwork it. It's just I want to keep them flowing. Remember, they're figures, they're moving. So what I'm going to do, you're going to see me do something in the middle of their legs now, just as if the walking continued in here, as if they walked and they passed through. So I'm just tapping it so it has some sort of motion into it. The next person too, she's having this strong dark. Remember, because they are silhouetted figures. She's wearing a vest. This is one. It has a round sort of neck. You can see the bottom of that, and then the leg at the back is dark. Let's make that a little bit alizarini. You can see because it's feminine, the thigh, the movement, it has to feel right there. And then the front leg is lighter, so a little bit of white just into the same kind of mixture to bring out the movement. Just right there. And then blend it back into the darks again. So we've got that figure there, and now we are, let's put some darks on maybe the tops of their head, because I don't want it to look, again, this is all better left loose because they're moving. Then she's got a hand, that hand is in the silhouette, it's in the dark too. It's in the dark, and I'm just going to add some like a reddish, but I don't want to get that hand, I want to get that hand. So the movement, just one shot, and then the weight goes across and breaks into the light, so important, and just leave it there. Another hand of the other lady, the arm of the other lady, again, let's make that a little bit reddish, just to break it up a little bit there, and then bang. Okay, her face should be a little bit darker. This face also should be a little bit darker, just in the middle there. And then the blonde girl, let's get some yellow. This is just for exaggeration purposes. Just whip that hair. Oh, can't wait to do this one. Whip that hair, let it flow. Let it flow. See, when you leave these little lovely bits to the end, it's really, and when it catches light from the side. Oh, that's lovely. And then the hand catches light. That hand. That's it. And then her trousers catch a bit of light, so I'm going to mix some ochres into the darks. So a little bit of light on the trousers on that side, on her backpack. The light is captured. And then there's this bluish light. I'm going to mix some yellow into this kind of warmth. So for this lady, because there we got this just bits and pieces there. And I think her top caught some light, so just a slab of it, just to show the movement and the arm and the effect of that on the top. I love figures and I love to sketch them, and the key is not to overwork them. Just know where to put the right marks in the places where you think will enhance the figure. If it's going to kill it, just leave it out, the viewer will fill it in, like the arm that catches the light there. And there's some more other things which I'm not going to overstate. Now let's get into some parts of the phone box again. So there's a kind of like an inscription telephone. We want to just put that in. Don't want it to be too much, but let's just let's make sure there's some red in it so it doesn't look dead. And just that would be the inscription there. You've got to feel that's where the telephone thing is. And then there's some niggly posters they put in. Very, very naughty posters there's in there. But I'm not talking about that. It's just the yellow marks. Just little marks in there just to wake up the painting a bit, because this area is a bit dark. And so just fill it up with some strokes, just shapes. And then there's another light portion in there. This just makes the whole painting have some variety in some areas where we didn't expect the painting to have the interest. So I'm just going to go with some of those highlights in that area, on top, to the side, that strong, really strong hair, there, all over here is strong, and then just a couple of those lines coming together, and then we just have, yeah, that doesn't show. I think I need to darken some of it, because then I've revealed too much light, and it's a mysterious dark that makes the thing interesting. So let's kill some of the light in it, like here. So there, kill the light, here, and we just want the shadow to prevail, because that's what prevails in the thing, it's the shadows. Really let the shadows prevail, let the shadows sing, let the shadows be alive. So it just feels as if we sneak into this phone box and we feel a little bit of it, but not everything in the light. What I haven't been able to create is an interesting shadow shape for the whole thing, but you know, I don't know what I did there. That's not supposed to be there, so I'm just going to lay, actually, I'm not going to do anything but just take it out, wrong color, and then lay in the color that's supposed to be there in another kind of interesting fashion, because that's the wrong kind of color to be there. That's a lovely stroke in the middle. We want to keep that line. Now let's go for the shadow that the tree, the shapes of light, the pockets of light on the floor. The pockets of light on the floor are really interesting. So just clean these brushes out now, and just get the right brush again. Again, I'm always thinking of the brush that will give me the right shape without mincing. Yeah, I think this will do it. So I'm going to move back. I'm not falling today. Yeah? Not falling, I told you. We promised each other. Alright, that's it. So now I'm going to look at the shapes, and just so they are not as bright as the real light here. So I'm going to mix kind of like a light, but move it into the shadow color. And it gives me an intermediary light, which is not as light as the main light, and I'm going to put these in the strategic places to start off with. Just, it should have a still have a little bit of heat in it, but they can't be as bright as the main light. And that will come in areas like that. Flatten, that's why I look for the right brush. Oops, we look for the right brush. And then these pockets of shadow is what really brings this painting alive. It needs to be done to be varied. You need to vary it. So I'm going to have some purples already. So not all the colors, not all of it is stapled like. So you're going to see it come in, and the way it comes in, it's just going to add more. Then it shouts a bit. There's some bits of it that shout. You just feel it like, ooh, yeah. And then you go on, you just go bang. Just be carefully, and then you go back, because you get too excited and then you might kill it. And it's like, oh, no, not now. Okay, not now. Oh, it's too late now to mess it up. Then some of it, the color, the shadow starts getting a bit red. So you can see that some of it's pinkish. And then the pockets. Little pockets, nuggets of color. And then some of them really get bright, so I'm going to really enhance some, because then it just helps the whole thing, and then there should be a subdued amount of them. So I'm going to go into the blues and the alizarenes and just create some really subdued ones. Oops, too blue. Opalize it, add some ochre to it, you never get it wrong with that. Just, yeah, that's the kind of dead ones. And just in some areas, and then we want to keep those dead ones, and then all of a sudden we go back into some warm ones, and then and then fly away with some red ones, just create a red one again. So it's a game. You can see that if you keep everything one tone, then it's not going to look real, it's not going to look exciting, it's not going to appease the viewer. You want them to think, oh, you did so well to know what colours to mix. Not really. It's just, this is all a game. I can tell you, you know, we played it from the beginning, you saw how it started, but and this is what I want you to have when you do any painting. Know exactly what you want to do from the start, why you chose it, so that becomes the overriding feel of it and the theme of it, so you never go wrong. Be like I'm not getting carried away with that, because that's not what it's about. I'm not letting that bother, you know. I'm allowing this whole thing to just flow. And then I think I've had enough of the insides of it. You know, you get tired of it now because the excitement's over. We've got a few of that bing, 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 and then just be careful to not let it overrun. Now, let's go back into the foam box, because it just needs a bit of tidying up. Okay, so let's go into the darks. Every time when something's wrong, it's never mostly with the light, it's with the dark shadow. So just going to look at it again. Okay, and you get some darks in there, darks there, darks. This area is blazing light. There's a shadow at the back, just something that links that whole area in. And okay, I've noticed something, it's very good, I've seen it. Just a few little things, like this is like a checkerboard, and it's on the, it's just where this is about to start. Just remember, there might be the shop owner who would say, that's my floor is checkered, you didn't do it. Oh, why did you do that? So, I'm just trying my best to make sure I satisfy that owner. Just put some sort of variety of, you know, just a checkerboard, just to show in there. And then some tones on the pillars. Remember, this is not the real reason of it, but just keeps it interesting, like to get some of these things, like the effects of them, just over and here and over and done, and then bits and pieces here and over and done, and boom, boom, boom. Like the tables, and I'm almost there. I'm going to step back and have a look at it from afar, because sometimes when you're too close, you don't really see it. But let's get the table. There's two chairs. There's two chairs. So let's get the panels that you sit on first. So one of them is just here. That's one. And the other one is there. And then they have like feet. Let's get them in. So the whole experience was in 4 stages, if you remember, and this is the final kind of stage where this can go on forever, I must say, because you know you're constantly just seeing things and constantly putting, and I could go on and on and on, just putting niggly bits, but you need to know when to stop, because then you might just kill the painting and kill all the lovely bits that made it interesting by just adding too much detail. So it's about knowing when to stop with the detail and not overworking. I've seen some loud orange buildings in the background, that's what I'm trying to work that through, and a bit of loud building and sunshine in there. Apart from that, just try our best to. The only thing I think I've taken too much liberties with is this crazy photographs. I'm not happy with it at all. But then you can't be happy with everything in a demo. It's a demo. That's what you use to console yourself, you know. It's a demo. You know, when you get too worried about the way it looks, just remember, it's just a demo. Don't get too worried. Don't just sleep over that, you know. Just, you know, artists can get too fiddly and worried and all. So, don't worry, you know, they'll pay you, they're not going to work, you know. Don't get all sad about it not working. Okay, so I'm going to step back now because I haven't stepped back, I've been too close. So move back and have a look. Interesting. Okay, so what's our time? Whoa! That's scary. I think that's spot on. Okay, so let's take the picture of this stage. So this is the fourth stage, okay, and the kind of final stage where we tied everything together. I like to have it in spots and everything. So, thank you very much. You've been an amazing audience. This is the method I use. It's called the outside in, where I start from the outside and I end up with the detail inside. The other technique I use is inside out, where I start from one spot and then continue to flow just from one spot. That I like best in the studio because it keeps me excited, but you can't use it for a demo or you have to spend 5 hours. So thank you everyone, and if you want to take pictures and everything,